Because I am not impressed. And I am going to keep telling people how unimpressed I am with Costco and their tire center. This is the second experience I have, and it's been horrible. Hey, welcome back to GT Canada. Got an interesting experience to share with you today about tires. Now, I'm not a tire expert. I don't know everything there is to know about tires, but I know what right looks like and what wrong looks like. I recently bought a new set of tires for my wife's Mercedes. The last set of tires that I got for her, I got on a website that I just buy all my tires from. They sell generic Chinese off-branded tires, and they've got ones that look pretty good and ones that don't look as good, and I just kind of look at the ones that seem to have a tread pattern that looks like something that I've seen on a higher branded tire, and then just decide that that looks like the tire to go for. So I bought her a set of tires about 2 years ago, winter tires. Up here in Canada, I do like to run winter tires on my car. What I found was the compound for the tires was hard. The tread pattern was nice, but the compound was a little bit too hard, so it wasn't that great on ice and snow. So because I wasn't that impressed with the tires, I just ran them year round, winter and summer, so that they'd wear off faster, and they lasted for 2 years. They still got a decent amount of tread on them, but they're not brand new anymore. So we bought some tires from Costco. My last experience buying tires from Costco was not that great either. So I thought, well, maybe that was a one-off experience. I'll get some new ones and we'll see if that's any better. So I ordered these tires online, Costco online, and then I waited for them to show up, and then when they showed up, I arranged to get them installed. Right after I had them installed, my wife said, the car seems so much squishier now than it did before. I had a look at the tires and they all looked flat. I checked the plate on the side, and they're actually rated for 50 PSI cold, and they had only pumped them up to 32 PSI. Personally, I like to run my tires at the max inflation because it's rated for that, and it's better for your fuel economy. Then you know that you're gonna get the proper tread wear. So I pumped them all up to 50, but 2 of the tires still looked flat, even though they were at the correct PSI. And I checked the pressure, and they were right. They were 50 PSI. All 4 of them were 50 PSI. So here I'm showing you what the tire looked like compared to the other tires. So I'm looking at the front passenger side tire, which looks noticeably lower, noticeably flatter. And when we compare that to the driver's side front, it looks correct as far as I can tell from tires. I don't know how to check tires really for that. It just looks flatter. So what I did was got a measuring tape and measured the distance from the road to the rim, and I noticed that on the side that looks flat to me, it's almost 1 full inch closer to the ground. The rim is almost 1 full inch closer to the ground. That seems like the tire's flatter, right? I kind of ignore it and say maybe I'm just crazy. And then she drives it for a few more days, and I go back and check it again, and it looks really flat. It looks even worse now. And I'm like, this isn't right. This can't be right. So I take it back to Costco. Now I expect that when you have a tire shop, you have somebody at that shop that knows tires and understands tires. So I pull up, and the guy that normally is just retorquing lugs and checking air pressures, he comes to retorque the lugs because I was due for that anyway. And I said, this tire looks flat. And he says, yeah, it does. He says, well, the pressure's good. And I'm like, yeah, but something's still not right. The tire looks flat. So he says, well, I'll go get my manager. So his manager comes out. This guy looks at it and he says, okay, yeah, something might be wrong with the tire. And he disappears, and he comes back and he says, okay, so I figured it out. I'm like, oh, great. This guy's going to tell me. He's a tire expert. I'm going to find out what's wrong with my tires, and he's going to have the solution. And he says, this car has an air ride suspension. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, if you look at it, it's leaning over on the side where the tire's flat. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Actually, I noticed that this car has started to lean about the same time as you guys did my tires, actually. And I said, so I think the air ride's trying to compensate for the fact that it's sitting lower on this side of the car. And he says, no, I think your suspension's broken, and so it's squishing this tire down. I'm like, well, how is it going to squish? And he says, well, because the car's leaning over to that side. That means that there's more weight on that side of the car. You know, I can see how someone would think that by looking, because in our world, when you don't have an air ride suspension, if a car is leaning on one side, it means there's more weight there. Sure. But we're not talking about the car having more weight. We're talking about the suspension's just leaning over a little bit more. Is there a shift in weight when the suspension's lower on one side? Yes, there is. And I asked the guy, I said, well, how much weight do you think a tire needs on it for it to squish an inch more than the other side? And he looks at me and he says, well, about the weight of an engine. I'm like, okay, I would agree with that. An engine, 1,000 pounds? Yeah, that's possible. So I said, so do you think then that one tire is currently carrying all of the weight of the engine strictly on that side? He says, well, it's got some of it. I'm like, yeah, it does, but the other side has some of it too. So how much more? Like, if you're saying that I need 1,000 pounds to squish the tire down, well, then wouldn't the entire weight of the engine have to be on that tire? And he says, no, it doesn't matter. We're not gonna fix it because something's wrong with your suspension. I'm like, okay, but I'm not even talking about suspension here. I'm talking about why would this tire be sitting lower to the ground than the other one? Like, I'm asking you because I want to know, but this isn't right. I don't think this is safe, and you guys need to do something to fix this. So he says, well, I'm going to get my manager. So now I've got the store manager coming. I was only talking to the tire manager. So now the store manager is going to come. So he comes out and he says, yeah, so I talked to the manager and he says that your suspension's broken and that's why the tire's like this. And I'm like, okay, can you come look at this and you tell me if that makes sense? Because that doesn't make sense to me. As he's looking at it, I said, now look, I'm not a dumb guy. You know, maybe I'm not an expert in tires, but I don't think I'm a dumb guy. I need you to look at this tire. Now you tell me, does that tire look right to you? And he says, well, no, the tire looks flat. And I said, excellent, I agree, the tire looks flat. Now, can we agree that you sold me the tires, so you need to fix this? And he says, well, no, your suspension's broken. And I said, okay, I still need you to walk me through how a broken suspension makes my tire flat. Like, I'll agree, yes, my suspension has a problem. And if you haven't seen the video, I have fixed that problem. That was a broken airbag that actually had popped out of position, possibly while it was getting tires at Costco, which I have not brought back to them to cover my cost for that. But the link for that video is up over here. You can check that out. Finally, he agrees, you know, it does seem unlikely that that tire would look that flat, even with the suspension being broken. I said, okay, thank you. He says, okay, so we'll get a new tire in and we'll swap the tire. Perfect, that's all I want. 2 days later, they've got my tire. I go in, I get it put in, and I wait at Costco for 2 hours for them to change one tire. I had an appointment. They made an appointment for 9 a.m. I did not get out of there till 11 a.m., which I don't know why it takes so long to change one tire, but that seems ridiculous. And Costco, I hope you're watching this and you do something about your crappy tire service. An appointment doesn't seem to make any difference and you still take forever, but that's a rant for another day. I go back and I keep checking on it. Finally, the car pulls out and I tell the girl, I'm like, yep, you just took my car out. I just need my keys. I'll be on my way. She says, oh, hold on a minute. She jumps on the phone. Yeah, he's here. Yeah, who's here? I'm here. I want my car back. So now a different manager comes down. This is the weekend, and so there's a different manager. He comes and tells me, okay, look it, I don't know why we agreed to change your tire. Clearly there's a problem with your suspension, and that's what's causing the problems. We've changed the tire, but we will not service your tires again until you get your suspension fixed. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Actually, I'm taking it into the shop as soon as I'm done here to get the suspension fixed. No problem. He's like, oh, okay. And then this other guy comes and starts chipping away. He's like, yeah, you got to fix that suspension because we're not doing anything with your tires. And the manager's like, whoa. He says he's getting it fixed. Just chill down, back off. Like, they're sitting here telling me I didn't sell myself. You know, I paid $1,400, $1,400 for these tires with mounting. They better be like gold standard tires. I was riding before this on $600 tires and they didn't look flat. The $1,400 one sure better looked better than this. So anyway, they sent me home. Oddly enough, the new tire also looked flat. So now I'm thinking, maybe I am crazy. Maybe this suspension is causing the problems. So I drive home, I get the new suspension parts and I put them on, get the car all leveled out, and I check the tire, and sure enough, it still looks flat. So I'm not crazy. The suspension wasn't the problem, but the tire still looks flat. So I pumped them all up to 50 PSI again because they put them all to 32 again. I said, okay, you know what? I just don't want to deal with this. I don't even want to think about it. I'm so furious that I've paid a small fortune for good tires and I've gotten garbage that I'm not happy with. My wife drove the car for another week, and recently I went back and checked the tires again, and guess what? Now all of a sudden the tires look right. I've done nothing different to them. I've just put the proper pressure in the tires, 50 PSI, which is what the side of the tire is rated for. And actually, I'm actually running them at 45 PSI. So I know some of you are freaking out saying, that's the maximum pressure. You're never supposed to run maximum pressure. Oh my goodness, you're gonna kill your wife. No, I'm not gonna kill my wife. They're at 45, there's 5 PSI of room, and they are actually rated for 50 PSI cold. It's cold in Canada. I can put them to 50. The pressure will expand when they heat up, yes, but they're rated for that. Anyway, 45 PSI on all 4 tires. After running them for about a week to 2 weeks, all of a sudden the sidewalls are standing up straight and they're firm. Now I still can't explain this. So if you're watching this video and you know what I'm talking about, or you know why I experienced what I experienced, I'd like you to comment down below. Let me know, why do tires look flat when they're new and then as they run in, firm up on the sidewall? To me, that's counterintuitive. And it was only 1 tire, but it was actually 2 because when they swapped it, the new tire had the same problem. Not to the same degree as the original one was, but it was still flatter than the driver's side. So in the end, the tire issue has been resolved. If you've purchased tires recently and you are noticing that they seem flatter or squishier than what you would expect them to be, I would say give them a few weeks, double check your pressure, your PSI, and run them close to the max and run them for a week. But take pictures and measurements. That'll give you a reference so that if they do work in and eventually look proper, you can at least have a reference to go from. So my issue has been resolved, not because of anything Costco did, and I'm still furious at Costco. If you work at Costco or know anyone that does, send this video to them and say, hey, this GT Canada is giving you guys bad press, because I am not impressed. And I am going to keep telling people how unimpressed I am with Costco and their tire center. This is the second experience I have, and it's been horrible, and I'm not happy. Hopefully these tires are good. I got great news for you. We are going to do a side-by-side comparison of proper winter tires compared to brand new all-season tires, because me and my sister have a long-running dispute about how effective true winter tires are compared to just a good all-season tire. Somebody will be wrong, and you're gonna wanna know who it is. Maybe it's me. It's probably not, but maybe it is. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe down below, hit that bell, so when we upload that video, you can see the results and figure out, is GT Canada wrong, or am I right again? Check out some of the other videos over here. We got a great back library of videos and content for you to check out while you wait for the new content to come. Until next time, have a great day.